Now that we have our first relay in our configuration, you have seen this warning symbol here, and so we have to make sure all the data that is in our project is consistent. So what you can do next is double click on hardware and protocols. This will go to the relay. If you have multiple relays, you can go to this drop down box and select the relay that you want to configure. You can zoom to get a closer look to the hardware. What you basically see here is the first module, the main module of the relay. This is the back of the relay with communication cards. This is an Ethernet, electrical Ethernet card. Below that you have a fiber optic communication card. This J port is the internal interface of the relay, which talks the Digsi protocol as well as 6150 reporting. The CTs, PTs, and the digital in and output connectors here. You can expand this relay if you want with additional modules, but in our case the main unit is okay. So we have to, on the bottom you see properties of that relay. So if we increase the size of that window a little bit, what I recommend always to do is to go first through all the steps here. The first thing is the IEC 6150 name. We want to use 6150 in our application and goose messages. So each relay has to have a unique ID name. I would say this is our first relay, so it's our SIPROTEC-1, or the first relay in our configuration. And the MLFB of the relay only describes the hardware. For example, this relay has this internal J port for Digsi, but we can still configure what the IP address is and what communication or additional communication protocols should be used. We will stay in the network range or IP network range of 192.168.2.60. This can be the same. This is for the J port, and if you go now to the next, let's say details, there's nothing to do here. Interface settings, you can, if you like, enable 6150 reporting. So the reporting means it's without goose messages, so this part cannot talk peer-to-peer to other relays, only up to a SCADA or up to a data concentrator like a SICAM PS. So this is optional. So if you click on this option, you get additional settings here, but I guess nothing is to do. Okay, good. So this is our J port. Because we want to use goose messages for interlocks between our two bays, we have to go to our EN100. And also want to put this interface into the same network IP address range 2. And let's say 200 for this, and then you can just click through it and see if anything else should be done here. And here basically you say, after we added the IP address, you can select if this hardware device should use 6150 or DNP. Because of goose, we select IEC 6150 communication on that network card, and there's no additional settings necessary. So now basically this module is set to IEC 6150 communications. We still have this warning symbol, and the reason that for this is that we have a second communication card which is not configured yet. This is a fiber optic communication card, and I would recommend just to put this to a protection interface. And maybe a 2-device protection communication. Okay, these are settings we do not have to change because we don't really use this interface. And the second one can be also protection interface. The second channel is actually optional, so you don't have to configure this. What you also can do is, if you're not sure what's wrong, you go to the top of the project tree and you see this button here in the top that I just clicked. It checks the consistency of your configuration, and it will bring up a list here on the bottom and tells you what else needs to be checked. So for example, in our case we have the selected application, or this is the protective relay application that we assign to this relay, contains 5 binary outputs more than currently supported by the hardware. That means we have to delete it by just double clicking on it. Or you say go to, then a message pops up. The selected application template includes more routings than currently supported by the device, and do you want to remove the additional routings? So we say yes, because we don't need them. So it's updating the hardware and removes these 5 digital outputs. So if you're not sure why this symbol pops up here, always go to the top of the project tree and hit the consistency checker button here, and it will give you good information what's not okay, and will also bring you to the correct spot, or it has some wizards that start here. So now you can see we have a clean project tree on the left hand side. The relay is configured correctly. So I would just recommend to save the project and go to the next step.